Good evening, calling to order the school committee meeting of the whole, December 16th, 2025. We'll all rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have Ms. Milbury Ellis,
President.
Ms. Rizzo,
Here.
Mr. Sinella, present, Mr. Caggiano,
Present.
Mr. Kingston,
Present.
Ms. Kelly's here, and school committee elect Damiano is here.
And Ms. Monteroso is on the Zoom.
Oh, Ms. Mon- Hey, Ms. Monteroso, how you doing?
Sorry.
Can you hear us?
Yes,
Great. So we have the approval of the minutes. So move. And attached warrants. Any questions on the warrants? No questions on the warrants?
Oh, I do.
Sure.
And they're just out of curiosity, number 13, number 53, legal fees. If it was anything major, it's small money, so it shouldn't be major.
Yeah, so the reason you're seeing two different entries, the first is for legal services to the district generally. And the second is around specifically special education related items. And so we receive a monthly bill based on hours provided for those two different types of services. And it's separated by the fund that we're covering those costs from. So every month you'll see them. They're much lower since we're not collective bargaining this time around. But that's why those bills show up in two places on each monthly. So.
We have a couple of ongoing special education situations that we're dealing with. And that's the higher of the two bills, the 6,800 for last month. And we have a couple of ongoing staffing issues. There's one new one. I know the mayor and I spoke this morning that he received a level 3 grievance from the teachers today, and his assistant will be responding to that and sharing with all of you that information so that you can schedule a date to hear that grievance.
And then just one other one, what percent of our sped transportation increased? It looked like it increased a lot. Am I wrong, or is it my math? Because I always feel math.
there's a lot more.
So we moved to a new contract for the inside runs, which wasn't
No,
a terrible increase. It was.
I mean, outside, I was
Right,
thinking,
and then outside, we have spent less money compared to last year so far. We're spent outside, homeless, coming out of the city, homeless, coming back to the city, and foster care. All four of those are lower. We haven't done a transportation financial report because it's really February-ish when you would want to see that with the winter having hit and what's happening with our homeless populations. So the percentages are not troubling the way they had been 2 and 1 year ago, which triggered some of our conversations around transportation.
thank you.
Can I just give a few other financial?
Sure, that'd be great.
So there's typically no reports in the month of December. In January, we'll have both the second quarter financial report through the first 6 months of the year. And I'm hoping to have a food services financials report. So the new food services management company, we wanted to give them 4 months of operations under their belt before presenting both financials on dollars and on headcounts and participation. So I hope to have those 2 reports for the month of January. We're also hoping to schedule an informal kind of a primer meeting for existing school committee and any of our new school committee who want to sit down for an hour and just get a refresher on here's our budget process. And here's the budget document and why it has what it has and how it flows. So that will help both to get a sense of timetable. You know, I'm doing dozens of hours of work each week getting things ready, but we really don't press into conversation until we see the governor's budget and the DESI net school spending numbers.
Mhm.
And then when we do, it's kind of like a slalom and the gates are open and we go. So I'd like to, the first week of January or so, sit together and make sure anyone who wants to see the process
Mhm.
and see the budget document in, not in theory, we'll look at the real one, but like, here's why these things are here. So then when we start putting real numbers in, it's clearer to everyone what we're actually looking at
Mhm.
and how it has evolved over the years.
Mr. Mayor, Jacqueline has her hand up.
Okay, Jacqueline, Ms. Montroso.
I think that's a really great idea, and I would actually encourage it to become a PD for the entire school committee, just not new members. So I'm wondering if you're working with Robin to schedule that for all of us, or if you need any support on that.
Yes, I'll work with Robin and Dr. Kelly, and we obviously wanted to wait until the holiday season passed,
Mhm.
but would like to do that before
February.
we're holding on to some real numbers. So sometime in that first couple of weeks of January, so we'll get the ball rolling on that. But just wanted to share now the concept behind it so that everyone's a little bit, not that you don't know, but it's always good to go back over and say, okay, I see
Mhm.
what to expect as I'm reviewing the budget document.
I think it would be beneficial to all of us if we can make it.
Thank you, Matt. It certainly would. Ms. Montroso, did you have anything else?
Seeing how we can schedule that so that everyone's schedule fits.
And, you know, this is just, and I'm not saying just for some of the newer members, but for all of us, this group PD would be great. But, are you able to offer yourself up individually if a committee member who needs an hour to spend some time on the budget roll up and how it works? And I say that because in group settings, sometimes, and this is no slight on newer members, but asking questions might be a little bit more nervous, but having some individual time with you, asking more specific pointed questions regarding how you work the budget, where it goes, why it goes, and how it all makes sense would probably be helpful.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
We've joked that it's kind of like the Matrix, that when you first look at it,
Oh,
but then over time, as you get a sense for, here's the flow, and here's the essential places I'm looking for, we try to make it as simple as possible. It still ends up being a 200-page document necessarily. But as a group, it would be good to see the basics, and individually, you're totally available to press into any specific places that would be helpful.
great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Matt?
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Want me to make up some?
Personnel, Ms. Scully.
Any questions on?
I do. I know, at the beginning of the school year, we had a number of professionals not hired yet. I was just wondering if that number has gone down.
I believe we're fully staffed. Are you aware of it?
Close to, let me pull up the exact numbers, but we're pretty close to fully staffed.
You don't have to pull them up
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
I believe you.
There is a constant change, like you see, so right now on, this report, we've had one part-time para, a BCBA, and a school psychologist recently submit their resignation, so we'll be in the process of posting those jobs and working to fill them, but, every month we see those, little fluctuations that we don't anticipate. Typically, things like the leave of absences, we anticipate, often those are maternity leaves. And we know about those in advance, so there's those little pieces that we have to work on. And one thing that I did mention, one thing that's not on here, like you see Jamie Sharapa, ELA teacher at the high school, is listed as retirement. He's retiring in June. And so I just said to folks, as we get into that season where people start giving their notices, we can just note that in parentheses, so you all know that they're not retiring right now. It's gonna be at the end of the school year. And they'll do that going forward for new people.
Thank you.
This is on a long list, pretty good.
Yeah, and there's one other resignation that we did receive that I wanted to mention to you, and that was Stuart Noiseau, who is the coda at the Susan B. Anthony. He has decided to move on to new adventures. His family is growing. His wife is expecting their first child. And so he's looking to get closer to home and, try something new.
Do you think we're gonna fill that position or are we just gonna,
Yeah, we can talk about it.
okay.
So that was gonna be a question relative to what I was gonna ask, and just kind of foreshadowing for next year's budget session where we had to make some tough decisions. If
Mhm.
if we know in advance of some open positions, we may decide that we don't wanna fill because it'll make the decision-making process easier in
Later on.
May or June,
Mhm.
probably be beneficial. And then, just if you can give me, Dr. Galucci, maybe you can give us an update on the school nursing staffing levels relative to, and I know this, we still haven't figured out and finalized city side, DESI certified, school side, but do you have a rundown of how we're looking there?
I believe we're slightly over 50% now on the school side.
Right.
So we've actually, yeah, a few years back, we were heavier on the city side.
And is the DESI, not that it's easier, but are they being more lenient on getting these educators or these healthcare professionals certified?
They're in the process of changing the regulations for school nurses. They haven't been approved yet by the Board of Education,
Yeah.
but they are working on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And
And
that's our challenge, is that when we want to hire school nurses and they're not licensed by DESI, our hands are tied.
Yeah, and it just makes it tough on management, you know, they're
Yeah.
being managed by someone in a building far, far away for all that matters and in a different union and then
Mhm.
working under different conditions, so it's confusing for everybody.
Yeah,
they've been really good at ensuring that the nurse candidates that they bring in have a BSN, which is often a big hurdle, because if you don't have a BSN, you can't get DESI certification. So they're being a little more purposeful in terms of who they're bringing in for interviews. And we've seen the fruits of that because a lot of the candidates that we hire have been able to come aboard on the school side.
and BSN for people watching at home is a bachelor's in science for nursing.
Yeah.
I was, it's a BSN project.
A lot of nurses have a lot of nurses don't have a bachelor's degree. They're licensed to be nurses,
Right.
but they don't have a bachelor's degree. And in that scenario, they cannot work for the school district. They cannot
Right.
get a license from DESI. So that's a roadblock. And so what Richie's saying is Lauren and her team and the principals have done a good job about really focusing on candidates that already have that BSN so that we know they're eligible for licensure, and then we can work with them to get over those hurdles.
But when that passed a few years ago, it made no sense then.
Yeah,
I mean, someone got somebody's ear to change.
you, Freddie, that had to be 30 years ago, my friend.
Time flies when you're having fun.
1974.
That's about.
Yeah.
The American Red Cross.
So,
All right, thank you. Any
Feels
other
like
questions
yesterday.
on new hires or retirements?
No, just happy to see a short list.
Okay. Wow, acceptance of donations?
so there's actually two donations here, but one of them is listed formally under acceptance of donations because it's more than $1,000, and that's from the United Way, who actually gave us $160 gift cards to, I'm gonna forget now, Stop and Shop?
Market basket.
Market Basket, that we, once the school committee approves them, we'll be giving out to students and families in need in order to use those for the holidays. We are going to give them out, proportionately to student enrollment at each school. So the high school will get a larger chunk because 25% of the kids are up here. Beachmont will get the least number because it's our smallest school in the district, and the rest will be somewhere in between.
How do you make sure that like the same family doesn't get it twice? If it's going per school, do you know what I mean?
So the social workers and the principals do work with each other on it. So like
Okay.
if there's one at the high school,
Right,
they connect with each other in the
Okay.
sibling.
just so you can spread it out more.
Yep.
Correct, yeah.
All right, wonderful. That's great.
So we're really excited for that. And if you want me to just hit the other one while we're talking about donations, it's down the bottom, number 5. It's a donation of a piano to the Lincoln School. And this is from Susan Edelman, whose husband we've talked a lot about, whose father we've talked a lot about and the impact that he's had on that Lincoln community. But she is working on dispersing his personal items from the family home. and wanted to give the piano to the Lincoln School. Kelly Williams, our finance director, went and looked at it and thought was great and would be a good resource. It's actually gonna be in the music teacher's room. And so, we'd like to proceed with that. I asked them to give me the value of the piano so that we could assess whether or not it needed formal school committee approval. And it's under $1,000, so it does not need your approval, but I thought it would be important to bring here and talk about and share that great donation that's happening at the Lincoln.
That was very nice.
Great, and just in reference to the United Way, we actually, 2 weeks ago, due to all of the uncertainty that was happening towards the end of October, early November, they really stepped up, done a nice job of getting donations to the United Way and dispersing them to community organizations. We haven't gotten the final tally of the additional resources they've given to areas like the Riviera Food Pantry, First Congregational Church, the Arabic Food Pantry, all of it. So there, but they stepped it up between the 3 communities that were creating this food resource program. And probably are gonna give out an additional $100,000. I'm thinking this may have been to the 3 communities in different pockets. But they've been very generous. I commend them because a lot of charities take in money and it's very difficult to get it out to people. They're very good at getting, so United Way of Greater Boston has been very good at getting it in and getting it out to people. So.
Ms. Monterosso has her hand up.
Which one is? How do you disperse it as far as with the gift cards? You know, like, who's eligible, who's not, how does that all work?
The principals and the social workers identify which families are most in need. We wish we could say we could give one to every family in need, but the social workers work very closely with the students and know them well. They talk to the health teachers and others who are making observations of what might be happening and figure it out that way.
Ms. Monterosso?
Grants, I saw that DESE just launched today their GRAIN grant when it comes to green initiatives for construction. And I don't know if it had come across your desk, Dr. Kelly, if it's something that we could even apply for the new high school, because they award between $50,000 to $5 million, depending on the capital project that might qualify.
What was the name of that again?
Green.
And so whether it's capital projects for energy efficiency,
Green grant.
ground source, yes, ground source heat pumps, like I'll send it over, but whenever we come across things that could help us with funding, I like to just see if even eligible.
Money.
Definitely, we
Free
always
money.
like money. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Field trips?
Yep, field trips.
We have 2 field trips that are in your packets. Both of them are field trips that we've done every year for quite some time. The high school is for the Model Congress to go to their program in, I think it's Cambridge. Oh, no, it's Boston, I think this year. Sheridan, Boston. Nice, good for them. And then the other one is for City Lab for their students to head over to Hale, which they do every year in their sophomore year. And it's a nice team building and confidence building program. So both of them are off in the winter time, so. Any
And the
questions?
February one is during school vacation, right?
Yes, it is, yep.
Yeah, 1922. Diane, on the one in Boston, most of it's on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, but they're providing their own transportation. Accommodations can't be made to work a shuttle or something for them? Maybe a bus in and a bus back?
Well, we typically say that the clubs and activities have to arrange for their own stuff. And so if they've arranged, I imagine they're taking the T in.
Blue line.
Students will find transportation to and from the event, so. I mean, if they asked for transportation, we could look at it. It's typically like $400. $500, but I think that you get into a whole. Every other
Every
club
other
wants to
club.
have transportation and,
No, I just thought with Saturday and Sunday, I mean, that's, we got our own vans, our own buses, so I don't think it cost me $400-500.
oh, well, I mean, if we could hire a bus driver, one of our own bus drivers to do it on an overtime rate, we could do something like that.
Just, you know, for what it's worth, okay.
Any other communications? You know, Dr. Kelly's evaluation goals.
So I can speak to these a little bit, they're all pretty much directly from the district improvement plan, and just tweaked the language a little bit. To address, you know, what we're hoping to do, like on the first student learning goal. The real focus is to increase student achievement by looking carefully, collecting the data and looking at what's actually happening in the classrooms. The second one, one of the requirements was that over the course of the 4 goals that we touch at least 2 of the elements in each of the 4 major standards. So I tried to make sure that I did that as well. I will say that I asked Lorenzo and Richie and Danielle to weigh in and see what they thought, what the primary focus areas should be. So that what the data that I'm showing you as we go forward in the months is related to the district improvement plan and the school improvement plans, and we're all rowing in one direction. I'm not setting up a whole new set of priorities that would distract from the other priorities, if that makes any sense. I don't know. You all had any questions on that?
Just on the data that's provided, the graph that was provided on the attendance, I had a hard time following.
Are you talking about the quotas? Yes,
Could you give us numbers and percentages or?
yes, I can do that. One thing I did ask, because the agenda is so packed tonight, I actually, and because Stuart is moving on, I actually asked them to postpone their presentation until January. And I did give them a little bit of that feedback, exactly what you're saying right now, that it wasn't necessarily clear. And I thought that the school committee's focus wanted to be more on the data and less on this is what the job parameters are. So I am gonna meet with James and Allison next week and work with them on crafting a new presentation that they can give to you in January.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
One thing I want to ask too is on the advanced coursework completion,
Mhm.
on the left side, you got the percentage. But then on the right side, you got gaps, and I
Okay,
wanted some clarification.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
are we finished with my goals? Is that all good? Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to share, Mr. Kingston had asked for an update on AP, I think 2 months ago. And so I wanted to share, the update on not only AP, but also where we are with advanced coursework, because they kind of go hand in hand. And so I want to first explain what advanced coursework is. It's one of the metrics that DESE uses in our accountability rating. They look at what percentage of our students are completing advanced coursework before they graduate. And they define advanced coursework as anything AP, anything dual enrollment, anything early college. And then they've identified certain, what they consider to be advanced courses like calculus, even if it's not AP, physics, even if it's not AP. And a handful of other courses that they identify. And if a student completes at least one course in any of those areas, we get a tick mark for our advanced coursework. If the student graduates without ever doing any of that stuff, we don't get a tick. We don't get credit for that. I'll put it that way.
So these are completion. They've taken the course, they've completed and passed. the
And
course.
pass, they have to pass, yep. So, and the same thing with the APs, they have to pass the AP test in order to get that advanced coursework credit. So I'm gonna start with the AP sheet, which is the one with less data on it. And I'll take you through that. And as you know, one of the things that I've been trying to monitor as we progress is what happens when we go back to tracking and having honors classes. How does that impact all of these things? So for AP, I was also thinking about, so the first thing I saw was that we have a big decline in the number of kids taking AP and in the number of exams that they're taking. And I wanted to actually look at our full school enrollment because I also knew our enrollment had gone down. And I'm thinking, well, if enrollment's down, we should expect AP to be down.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to compare that data for you. So in the first couple of columns, it gives our total high school enrollment. So in 2021 school year, we had 1,978 kids. The year after that, we're up to 1996, and you can see that we continue to increase until last year, we hit our peak at 2,115. And now this year, right now, we're down at 1,959. And I just looked at the number changes and then the percent changes, just to give us that kind of data. So
Mhm.
from last year, our high school enrollment is down over 7%.
Mhm.
In the next section, you see the number of students enrolled in one or more AP class. And you can see if we go back to 2021 school year, that number was 242. And that number went up the next year to 321, and it continued to go up. Then it was kind of stable, I would say, it started to go down, and now this year we're down to 329 kids. So you can look at the changes over the years, the increases and decreases. Where our enrollment now is down almost 10% over last year, which is a little bit worrying. And then in the next block of columns, you can see the number of total AP exams taken, because some kids will be enrolled in 2 or 3 APs at the same time. And so again, if we go back to the 2021 school year, there were only 362 exams taken. As we worked to engage more kids in advanced coursework, we see those numbers go up. And then now again, they're going down, which we would expect because there's fewer kids taking AP this year. We, of course, don't know what the outcome is yet. We anticipate all of them will take their AP exams because we require that they do. There will be a handful of kids who will end up having extenuating circumstances that will prevent that, but for the most part, we expect that to carry through, and then we'll see what their results are, but our results last year were great. We had our highest passing rate at so far at 62%, which is really good. I'll say that the dip that we had in percent passing in the 22-23 school year, when we were down at just 43% passing, there were 2 classes in particular that had really low pass rates. One of them was the AP Physics and one of them was the AP US Government.
Where do you see the 43%?
If
I
you
can't-
go, if you look under AP exam pass rate, do you see the section I'm in on the right?
Yep, oh, I see it right there.
Okay.
Okay, 43, that's percentage, okay.
That's percentage, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, it's not labeled.
That's right, it says total, it should say percent.
No worries.
Um,
Okay, I see. That's what my question was gonna be, is how, can we tell how many students start out in AP and then end up dropping it or don't complete it?
I don't have that data here, but it's very few,
Okay,
very few.
The reason I had asked for it is because when we were going over the MCAS scores, they had dropped and we felt, well, it was believed and I think proven that because the exam didn't relate to graduating,
Yeah,
that it wasn't, I don't wanna say, maybe it wasn't taken as seriously as it had been in the past. So if the AP scores came back well, that meant that, you know, we were still doing,
yeah,
things were still happening in a positive direction. Because if
Yeah.
you look at just MCAS, people on the street say, oh, and I try to explain to people that I spoke to that, look, it was because it doesn't affect graduating anymore, and it's hard to
mhm,
get people to take a test seriously if it doesn't have any real impact in their life. So, but to me, this data shows that, that things are still, things are in a
yeah,
positive
very
direction.
positive results.
Which is why I asked for it, because I was just curious, because if this wasn't good as well, then that tells you something, but this is still good, so that, the folks, the students that are kind of taking it seriously, I guess, for lack of a better word, they're doing well, and I think that's important.
and
Thank
how
you.
do the honors classes roll into this? I know that these are AP numbers, but is it possible that maybe some of the kids are just choosing to take
Honors
all
instead of
honors
AP.
courses instead of AP?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's definitely part of it, or kids who maybe were, when we didn't have the honors, might have taken 2 or 3 APs, are choosing only to take one, Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that definitely could be a piece of it.
Could
We
be
have to
future.
interview the kids and see if we can try to figure out what exactly is happening,
Yeah.
that's happening.
The population's down a ton, so that's gonna throw.
It is, yeah. Although I mean, total high school enrollment is down 7.3%,
Mhm.
but our AP enrollment is down 9.6%,
Mhm.
almost 10. So
But
it's a
we've
little
also-
more than we would want to see it. We
We've
want
also
to
implemented
boost that up, but
balance.
yeah, and one of the things that that I am gonna share is an idea that we have to try to help boost that, and I'll get to that in just a minute.
You're gonna pay them?
Well, there's two new AP courses that I want to introduce. And I'll tell you more about those in a minute, but let me just go over the advanced coursework piece. This is the second page. That's a little bit more dense, I'd say.
Mhm.
There's a lot more data there. And so on this sheet, I am reporting to you the percent of kids who are earning that advanced coursework check mark, like I was saying. So they are successfully passing an AP class or a dual enrollment or an early college or physics or calculus, some advanced subject area that DESE has identified as counts as advanced coursework. And you can see if we go back to 2018, when we first started looking at this data, our percentages down that first column, 68% of our students overall were completing some kind of advanced coursework before they graduated. Our high needs kids, that fell to 54.5%. Low income was at 58.9. EL was really low at 14%. Students with disabilities was at 30%. African American Black students, 68.6%, relatively high. And Hispanic Latino, 59%, and our white students were 81.2. So you follow how I'm reading that?
Mhm.
And then you can see our rates over the years as we continue to go. And the years that we were detracked were from 2020 until 2024. And then we went back to tracking in 2025. And so just to follow those trends, what we saw on the left hand of the table, if you look across now for all students, we saw a huge uptick in how many were completing advanced coursework. We went from that 68.4% up to 73, to 76, to 79, to 81, down to 77, down to 71, and now we're down to 70. For the high needs, again, we saw those upticks up to the high 70s and now dropping off back down to 64%. For our low income, we ticked up to the high 70s again, and now we're starting to come down again. EL and former EL, we ticked up all the way up to 64%, which isn't great, but it's a heck of a lot better than 14%. And now we're back down to 39%. Students with disabilities is a bright spot. They're higher in 2025 than they ever were.
Because of the resources that we've
I think the
provided?
resources is a huge piece of it. Now that we're scaffolding for kids in
Mhm.
real time, they're able to access more rigorous coursework. And you can see the rest of the data there. The column 2025, and I think this is really a bright spot too. If you just compare that to the column to its left, that's the state overall percentage in advanced coursework compared to our own. So in the state, for all students, 68.8% of kids completed an advanced coursework or got that credential. In Revere, we were at 70.7. And if you look down those two columns, you'll see that we beat the state every
Mm.
single time.
Mm.
So we have more students overall, we have more high need students, more more low income
Economic.
students, we have more EL students, we have more students with disabilities. More Hispanic Latino students, more white students, and more African American and Black students than the state average participating in advanced coursework, and I think that's a really important high note to point out.
Dr. Kelly.
Yeah.
How do we generate the demographics regarding income? We don't do like a form for the lunch program anymore. Where do you get that? Where does that information come from?
So 99% of it comes from the state. They identify families through their participation in different state agencies like the SNAP program or Medicare, Medicaid,
WIC, whatever, whatever.
all of
resources,
those different programs.
yeah.
So if a student is already, or the family is already engaged in some social services program, they're notified there, but we do still work to collect forms from families who, for a variety of different reasons, are not engaged with state agencies. In fact, so we collect those forms, we work with the families to do that, and Desi comes in and audits them to make sure we're not making things up to boost our numbers. They're coming this week to do the audit with Jamie Flynn, who's our data person.
Mhm.
And they'll look at that, but that's how students are identified.
Okay, great.
To the right of that line, and I think, Anthony, this is to speak to your question. The state, part of our accountability system is looking at the gaps between our highest performing student groups and our lowest performing student groups or other student groups. And so what you see to the right of that line that gives the state data is the gap. So in 2019, and for us, our highest performing student group across the board has been our white students. If you look up and down the columns, you'll see, like, if I go back to 2018, 81.2% of our white students were participating in advanced coursework. That's higher than any of the other demographics above it. Do you see that?
Mhm.
Right.
If you go to even to 2025, 83.5% of our white students were participating in advanced coursework, which is higher than all of the students in the subgroups above that. So what you see on the right hand of the line is the gap by year. And one of the things that I do want to point out is when we saw those increasing participation rates, not only were more kids participating in advanced coursework, more kids from different demographics were participating in advanced coursework. So, for example, with our high need students, that gap in 2019 was 24.4 points, which means 24% fewer of our high need students were participating in advanced coursework than our white students.
Could you say that one more time?
There were 24% fewer of our high need students participating in advanced coursework compared to our white students. And as we increased our participation across the board, you see that gap go down. So in 2020, that same gap was only 17.9 points. Then it went down to 10.6.
Does the enrollment, does the enrollment numbers for each demographic where those have significantly changed as well over the last several years? Does that come into play?
It wouldn't change. That's why we're looking at percentage of participation, right? So no matter how many students we have in each category,
Mhm.
we're looking at how many out of that total are participating.
How many out of that total are participating?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see that we did some good work closing those gaps over the last several years, but now this year in 2025, we see a big jump in those gaps. And that's something that we should watch
Mm-hmm.
as a school department and as a committee. And it's one of the things that I want to focus on changing in the next school year. And that's going to bring me into my AP discussion. But before I get to that, or back into our AP discussion, is there anything on here that you want me to, anything else on here that you have questions on?
No, it's clear.
Okay. So what I see in this data is that a lot of our students who are typically marginalized are starting to pull away from the AP. And it's something that we had talked about when we had our whole conversation about tracking, that one of the negative affects of tracking is that kids understand that to be a message that I'm not capable because I wasn't picked for the honors. And that has lasting impacts on kids. And I think if we just let this go, we would continue to see this trend. But there are two new advanced placement courses that are coming out next year. One is called AP Business, and the other one is AP Cyber Security. They're full-fledged AP classes. If the kids take them and get a 3, 4, or 5 on the exam, they still get college credit. At most of the colleges and universities across the country, just like other APs do. But they don't require a whole lot of advanced knowledge to take. So even like the AP business, you don't have to have completed advanced algebra to take AP business. And the same thing with the cybersecurity. And so I've talked to Chris and Caitlin, oh, I'm gonna flashback. Sorry, Shay, Chris and Shay at the high school. And we would like to introduce these two courses next year, and we would specifically like to focus on kids who might be thinking AP is not for me, or I can't do AP. And really engage them in those classes, maybe in their sophomore year, so that we can help them understand, you know what, maybe I am an AP student, maybe I can try AP government or AP statistics, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And we're looking at making these become part of the pathways. As you know, when we open the new high school, we want to go in there with 5 career pathways. One of them being, we've been calling it hospitality, but we're talking about teaching kids how to run the front end of a house, because we can't repeat what's happening at Northeast Voc. We're not going to do a culinary program. But we were thinking that maybe we think of that more in terms of business and hospitality, how to run a business. And so the AP business course would be good for any kid who has that kind of entrepreneurial spirit and wants to start a business for themselves after school, after they get out of high school.
Mhm.
The AP business course includes a whole unit on financial literacy, which when we get to the main meeting and I talk about the governor's new graduation requirements that they're putting forward, financial literacy is going to be one of the requirements. So it meets that need as well. The AP cyber security fits right into our robotics pathway, where those kids who are going to be on a pathway learning about robotics and programming and all of that are going to need to understand cybersecurity in order to be able to build their robots and, you know, all of that kind of other stuff. So we are hoping, I'm hoping that one of the things that you're going to see when we get to budget time is that I want to allocate some funding to make sure we can pay teachers to get trained to teach these AP classes, that we can implement them next year, that we can entice more kids to take the AP classes, which does huge dividends to them, but also would help us in our accountability measures as well. And that's my spiel.
I think it's a great idea, Dr. Kelly. I was just up at Essex Tech for a financial literacy event up there. And talking to the students, Essex Tech has a cybersecurity major. So the kids at Essex Tech take cybersecurity as one of their, that's their shop. So instead of carpentry, electrical, whatever, they're taking cybersecurity. So I think that's great. So thank you.
We can offer it right here ourselves.
Yes,
Mhm.
no, I think it's great.
Cool.
It doesn't cost us more.
Okay,
Good for me.
let's see, we got the donation already. Thank you, and, any other items anyone wishes to discuss?
I have a question. Can you just briefly explain these new requirements that the state's proposing? I'm getting like little snippets of it, but I really don't.
Yeah, I have a full presentation for the regular school committee because I want families to hear it too.
Okay. And is this something we can vote on, or
It's
is it
not.
mandatory?
It's gonna be
Mandatory.
mandatory. It's not quite finalized yet. This is their interim report. They'll be releasing their final report in June. I was at a meeting with the commissioner and the 2 deputy commissioners on Thursday, was it? When was I at that meeting? I forget, one day last week. And they assured us that there are 7 priority areas, which I'm gonna be talking about tonight, are pretty much indelible.
Okay. And then my last question was, do we offer any AI courses?
No,
That might be something we want to talk about. That seems, I mean, that's clearly the future, to get students interested in
Or
Yeah.
maybe an after-school, club.
club or something.
Club,
Just
yeah.
should touch upon it somewhere.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
I'm sure they're using it too.
That's what I do.
Sadly.
You too.
okay.
I get tarot
This
readings.
was a.
I just want to go back to, we had spoken about how we have 3 new members. They have to go the charting of the course route. I've gone 16 times. I learned something every single time I learn. Yes, I'm slow, but I still learn. And it's a nice way to meet your peers among the state. So. Ooh, hi.
Hi.
The next one, the closest one to us this year is in Quincy, January 24th. So if any of the new ones wanted to go and any of us that wants to join them, it's a great 8-hour course. And if not, if we can maybe sit as a group and decide if we can have MASC come in and at least touch base with a couple of courses that they offer, so it helps you get off to a better start than just listening to us talk. It helps, and it's great to meet other peers from other places because you see how things are done and it's not just made up here. So,
I think John and I were lucky. We had, ours was at Everett High.
we have Everett
Yeah.
High, we did the 2 years in Everett High. And then so some of the people in this division, we're Division 2, they didn't want to keep coming over onto this side. But if they can go in January, that's great. If not, we can have someone come in and pick maybe 3 or 4 items from the list that we have to take. It's an 8-hour course and it's mandated by the state. So if that's not the case, we'll try to come up with a couple of courses and do one together. And Diane will offer us lunch.
Absolutely, I'll make it myself. Can't afford anything around here.
The cafeteria. If you want to go small apple.
Will I start, are we adjourned? Do you wanna?
Are we good? We're all good?